so much for being here with us today.
Glad to be here. Appreciate it.
All right, firstly, can you just give us an introduction to your career and how you got into hip hop and what brought you here to Westchester?
Man, that's a great question. So I've been into hip hop my entire life. As long as I can remember, even as a kid, I was a part of a couple different hip hop performer groups in Chicago. Believe it or not, as a dancer and rapper as a child. So I was in a group called the Happiness Club, which is I got to perform all across the city and country, and then I also was a part of some other after school programs through After School Matters, another big organization in Chicago. So I've always been a fan of hip hop, both on the performance side, but also just like in love with music. So I always knew I wanted my career to be revolved around that in some way, shape, or form. I ended up going to college, went to Western Illinois University, studied broadcast journalism, but my minor was music business. In my mind at that time, I was like, I want to work in radio, host a radio show on hip hop, and then also eventually branch off and work for a record label. That ended up pivoting. I hosted radio shows for a while, even during my master's program. But yeah, I just had mentors who were like, no, we think you can do this in the academy. I think that it would make sense for you to be a professor and be able to teach some of the same stuff you're already doing as far as media and technology and also hip hop. So yeah, I ended up branching off into that, and I've been teaching now for 6 years. I taught at IUP before coming over to Westchester. But yeah, man, hip hop's always been a major passion of mine. So I've always knew that I wanted my career to revolve around hip hop in one way or another.
Yeah, no, awesome. So your new book coming out is about socially conscious hip hop and how it's kind of being brought back with these new artists. But for our listeners, can you give us a definition of what socially conscious hip hop is and why it's so historically important in the hip hop community?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Conscious rap is really it's artists using their voices to fight against systemic oppression through their music, specifically through hip hop. And I think that we've seen it, for decades. It's always been in existence ever since The Message by Grandmaster Flash. Artists who are using hip hop as a mechanism to speak on social issues and speak up against unjust systems. Yeah. And I think that that's what I would define as socially conscious hip hop. And I think that there are some rappers who have really made their bones just rapping from that standpoint and only addressing social issues within their music, like a Mos Def or like a Talib Kweli or a Common, who is like, this is what I do. But you have other artists who sprinkle that messaging into more mainstream songs that could be played in the club or elsewhere. So yeah, it's become a very essential part of the culture as a whole.
Yeah. So then, can you give us like a breakdown of your book that's releasing next year and kind of what it's about and everything?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Raps of Resistance is a book, man. I'm really looking forward to its release. Drops May 14th of next year. It's on pre-sale now. I feel like I'm doing a commercial. It's on pre-sale now on Barnes & Noble and Amazon or wherever books are sold. But it's a really exciting text. It's co-authored by Earl Hopkins, who's a journalist over at Philadelphia Inquirer. He also does writes for Grammy.com and a lot of other major platforms where he does music reviews as well. And yeah, we collaborated for this really important book, man. It really chronicles conscious rap and hip hop and its origins, but also the contributions of Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole specifically, and how pivotal of a time it was for hip hop when they both rose to prominence, and how they decided to, while being in the spotlight and having major endorsements and all of these things, still decided to shine a light on important social issues. So yeah, man, really impactful text. I'm not even just saying this because I wrote it. I went and reread it and was like, no, this is really good. So it's if you're a hip hop fan or if you're somebody who just wants to learn more about hip hop, it'll be a great read for sure.
Awesome. So we were talking about Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. Do you think that the music industry as a whole could use more artists who talk about these socially conscious topics like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole do?
I think we have them. I think that for whatever reason, record labels, the powers that be, are not choosing to amplify the voices of those artists. So there are a lot of rappers who are already speaking on social issues within their music, but they're just not being pushed in the same way. as other artists are. So I think we have them. I think there's a lot of amazing artists out here who are talking about social issues. I just think they need a bigger platform to voice their messages. When you look at artists like Rhapsody, amazing artist out of the Carolinas, but doesn't get the attention that other artists do, and hasn't necessarily been given that push into the mainstream society. So I think that they exist. I think that we just need to amplify them more.
Yeah. So another thing I want to talk about, there's so many more music genres today than really there's ever been, with subgenres of everything coming out. But hip hop still really remains as the focal point of popular music today. Do you think, or why do you think that hip hop has been the main genre that talks about these socially conscious issues instead of other genres like rock or even like R&B? Why do you think hip hop has kind of remained on top in the music industry as a whole?
That's a great question. I think one of the reasons why that is I think hip hop has always been a genre that embraces different stories. So I think because you have so many different lived experiences from hip hop artists, I think that it's going to speak to a large population of people, honestly, and I think it resonates with a lot of people because of that. So I think, when you have an artist who has a story like a Jay-Z, who was in the streets and ended up transitioning into being a business mogul, when you have somebody like that who's telling their story, but then you also have somebody like a J. Cole, who played basketball and went to college and then loved hip hop and is rapping from his point of view, coming out of North Carolina, and then you have Kendrick Lamar, who's out of Compton, and you have all these different people with all of these different stories. I think it lives on because there's not just one type of artist in hip hop. There's a lot of different people who are telling their stories and what they've went through and overcame to get to where they are. And I think that people are always going to gravitate to it.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. I'm gonna do a